Spears rise like winter thickets through a shroud of mist. The dead are following. They have been summoned.
If you try to stop me, I will destroy you.
The dead do not suffer the living to pass.
You have no power here.
You're all going to die down here.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to episode 10 and our first ever question and answer time. I have received a couple of questions from folks who have watched my previous efforts, so I thought before we got to the main topic, I would go ahead and answer those. Now, the first comes from Richard, and it concerns Serpent Passage. And his question was, what do you do? What strategy do you employ if destruction or your opponent is actively attempting to block you from getting to the drop-off point? And this was the best video I could come up to help answer that. Now, as you can see, we're up by 475 points. All I have to do is score to win the scenario. Destruction, of course, knows that, so they're going to do everything they can to prevent me from getting there. Now, you saw a Marauder attempted to pull me. In a moment, a Zealot is going to crop up and give me the range disable. But the basic answer to the question is you just keep pushing toward the drop-off point. You just keep trying to get there and then hope that you have enough help to allow you to score. As you can see, all of destruction now is after me. I've got a chamois behind me. So I make it to the wagon, but I'm unable to score here because I am taking dot damage, which of course breaks your attempt to score. So now all I can do is wait. Wait until the damage subsides and hope I got enough help to keep me alive. And as you'll see here, all of destruction is coming in and trying to take me out. So I keep my back to the wagon. That way if I get punted, I won't go anywhere. And I won't get punted into a part of the area here that would automatically remove the salvage part from me. Once I pick up the immunity timers, I can move away and help get into the fight. Because all we can do, again, is attempt to take these guys out and hope that enough time doesn't go by that I automatically lose the salvage point. Now in this case, I did have enough help down here that we were able to kill the destruction players. I had enough healers to keep me alive, and then I'm able to score and win the scenario. But that's the basic answer. You just keep moving, just keep pushing to the spawn point, to the drop-off point. And once at the drop-off point, you just fight it out until you can make the score. Doesn't matter when in the scenario that happens, you just keep trying to make the score. And again, hope that your team has your back. The second question concerns Calidor Woods, and the genesis of it, we were in an SC, Calidor Woods. Oh, by the way, this video here is from one of those Calidor Woods scenarios I played with my UI turned off, but it serves the purpose to help address the question. And the genesis was, what do you do if you're trying to capture the flag and all your range classes are in the back? They start taking pressure. You run back there to them. What do you do? Well, we actually had someone in comms that night who was screaming exactly that. You've got to get back here and help us. You got to get back here and help us. And my answer to that is no. No, we do not have to be back here with you. You need to be up here with us. Now, as you can see, no one has captured a flag yet. Even with my UI turned off, it would, if we had it, it would be blue. But everybody needs to be up here, and I made that point in the Calidor Woods video, that it doesn't matter your class. If you're going to play to capture the flag and control it, everybody needs to be here. And then you prevent that problem of having to run back to help your ranged guys out. Alright, on to Khaine's Embrace. As you can see, The map looks like a big torture chamber. Got that poor guy strung up in the middle and the fire down below. But Khaine's Embrace features a 2-point capture mechanic that if you get both of them, the world blows up and sends everybody running, like rats abandoning a sinking ship. Which the whole design just sort of places upon the players a couple of restrictions or conditions, I suppose, that make fighting it unique from the other scenarios in the rotation. Now the first one I want to point out, we'll talk more about it later, is that Khaine's Embrace tends to last a full 15 minutes. It's, I think, inherent within the design of the map and the mechanics of the gameplay here, which typically require that you play the full 15 minutes to determine a winner. And we'll talk more about that as we go along. But another thing I want to point out is there are some advantages built into the map as well. On this side, where the Dance of Swords is, there's a height advantage here that Destruction can take and use against the Order players if they're staying down at the Dance of Swords location. It flips when you go to the other side. Now there's a height advantage Order. We talked about height advantages in the Tor and Rock video, but you're fighting downhill here, which just it doesn't matter which side's doing it. It does just sort of impart on you a little bit of an advantage. Now this is something unique, the Khaine's Embrace. You loop around the outside, you see all the destruction down there, or Order, whatever it is, and you have sort of the staring contest. You're not really sure who's going to go in first. I don't really see that in any other scenario except this one, where you're sort of dancing around for a moment trying to decide who's going to make the first attempt. Well, by allowing us to make the first attempt, Destruction did here sort of grant us a little bit of an advantage, as fortune does tend to favor the bold. And by that I mean that if you decide to loop around as your opening gambit, loop around to the far side and attempt to take the other flag, then just do it. Just ride in and get down to the flag and fight down there. Now this is going to be a little bit of a protracted fight. I left this in, but this is something else that's kind of unique to Khaine's Embrace. At this very moment, with a score of 10-5, we have enough points to win the scenario. And you'll see this a little bit later on, but if neither one of us, if neither team picked up any more points from this moment forward, we would still win. And toward the last minute and a half of the scenario, the points would just very rapid, and you'll see that later, they very rapidly begin to increase until the timer runs out and somebody gets the 500-point win. However, there's one drawback to fighting on this side of the map. Destruction does have an inherent advantage, because even though we're killing some of their players, we're fighting very close to their spawn point, which means they have a very short time to get back into the fight, which renders it almost axiomatic that eventually they will rout us off of here. It just tends to favor whichever side you're fighting on, all other things being equal, that whoever's closest to their spawn point will eventually have enough numbers to take out their opposition. Now, we're still fighting to sort of clear off enough of their guys that we can take the flag, and we do. Well, all of you know what happens now. You capture both flags, you've got 15 seconds to get out of the area, or you get turned into burnt toast. And you bring forth Khaine's wrath. But the key here is that the instant that the flags reset and the explosions are over, is that you get back out and recapture this one again. Now, the flag that's toward your side of the map, of course, obviously, tends to be the easier one to capture. But here in this particular scenario, Destruction, of course, is helping us out. When the flags flipped a moment ago, or locked a moment ago, they all ran back toward their spawn. And that was a tactical mistake, because by doing so, allowed us enough time to get out here and lock this flag. And now someone on the backside has already locked the other one. So now here we are again. We've got just a few seconds to get out of the area. And here's something else that's unique to Khaine's Embrace. You can have these little running fights and try to root your guys in place so they get blown up. But for a moment, order and destruction are running in the same direction for the same reason, and not interested in fighting each other. Alright, we move on to a second scenario, and the beginning of this one illustrates another sort of unique aspect of Khaine's Embrace, and that's the wait and see game, where order comes out, takes their fight, and then everybody just sort of stands around. And I do a little scouting mission. I go up here to find out what destruction's up to, and lo and behold, they're doing the same thing. They're waiting down there to see who's going to move first. And this is, again, it's just something that's kind of unique to Khaine's Embrace. Trying to figure out, you know, which way you're going to go through the tunnels, loop around. But as I'm standing here, what do you think happens next? That's right, I get jumped by a witch elf. So I left this little fight in here for two reasons. One is just to show the fight, but two, to illustrate the point that while this is going on, the other order players use the tunnel. Now, of course, all of you know there are two ways to get across. You can loop around the outside, or you can use the tunnels. What I suggest is that initially, at the beginning, the hallway fight. As I've said before, I don't like hallway fights, but because I was one-on-one with a witch elf there, the hallway fight actually favored me. But while that fight was going on, Order used the tunnels, got to the other side, and locked down both points. And what I was going to say is, I just suggest at the beginning of the scenario that you stick to the outside. Once combat has been engaged, once it's been decided how both sides are going to play and fight each other, then you can use the tunnels to get back and forth, and it's a little less dangerous. All right, now we're continuing the fight here, of course, for just dominance of the discharge point, so that we can attempt to lock both flags. And we're going to be able to do that because, as you can see, destruction is sort of backing off a bit, and that favors us. That allows one of our guys to come in behind and flip the flag here in just a moment. As long as it doesn't matter what side of the map you're on, if your opponent is going to do this, by all means, take advantage of it. Now, I left this in just to show that there is a sweet spot, a safe spot that you can run to out in the open here, right up by this wall, where you're sort of wedged in between two explosions and you won't get killed.
20 minutes later.
We go back to fighting again to try to dominate both points. Now, I went back across, this is the same scenario, and I went back across to the Order side to see if anybody needed any help, because it was controlled by destruction. And what I found were these guys hiding behind this statue here. And that was, I thought, that's kind of a cool tactic. Flip the flag, then hide somewhere, wait to see who shows up. Unluckily for these two guys, a bunch of us showed up. So we take them out, and then of course recapture our flag.
6 hours later.
The same SC is still going on. This is what I was talking about earlier, that Khaine's Embrace does tend to last the duration. And you should just be prepared for that when you go into it. So we fight back across to the far side. And in a moment here, I'm going to make a mistake. I'm going to go against one of my own teachings, and we're going to try to run down this poor little Sork to make sure we get the kill. And this is a mistake, there's 5 of us down there. I mean, come on. That was a waste of time. We didn't really need to do it, but we did. But look what happened in the meantime. Destruction came in behind us. They now have the high ground. They have the flag. We didn't do ourselves any favors there. Not by any means. So now we're going to have to fight back through and make yet another attempt.
Several months later.
The same SC is still going on. But now we're down to 2 minutes, and we get a message here. All right, this guy's saying, hey, you guys, you're the best PvEers ever. To which I reply, yeah, so, I mean, that's kind of the point sometimes in these scenarios, is if you've racked up enough points over time that when the scenario is about to close at your head, then obviously all you got to do is just run out the clock. Now, I put this last bit up here just to show that we did get into one more little fight before the scenario was over, but it's it's irrelevant at this point. We're going to win, and that's what you want to do, though. And if it requires a little bit of PvE, then so be it, because the objective is to win the scenario and get the maximum number of emblems that you can. Okay, now it's time for a little bit of review before we move on to our next bit of video. Khaine's Embrace, as I said, it often lasts a duration, and it often requires that you split your forces. You just need to, try to plan for that as it's going along. There are height advantages that you can take advantage of on both sides of the map. Initially, I suggest avoiding the tunnel complex, loop around the outside, and then determine how the battle's going to unfold. Then you can use the tunnels for faster movement. If you can restrict your opponent to their side of the map, you're probably going to win. But don't make the mistake I did. Don't chase them. And if your side is ahead on points, then you can just PvE the thing to win. Because, as I said, you're probably going to be there for the full 15 minutes anyway, so it's going to require some of that. However, there is an alternative. So let's take a look at that. And this next video is from one of the pre-made groups that we ran, Saxton Company, the usual suspects, and we begin this scenario by employing one of our favorite strategies, just as we did in the Norden Watch scenario, the Behinder. And we're going to run around the backside, which of course in Khaine's Embrace, this is a perfectly fine strategy. Either side can do it, but we're doing it here for the exact same reasons that we did in the Norden Watch scenario and the Reikland Factory. We're attempting to pick off the stragglers, disrupt the enemy a little bit, try to keep them off balance. And as you saw there in the video, some of the other the other team order players came with us, so we get to the flag rather easily. But then initially make a mistake, is that we should have just ran right in and captured it. And I suppose, and I don't know why I jumped after this guy. I wasn't going to kill a chamois down here by myself. But anyway, I suppose if there's one thing that bothers me, one aspect of six-man fighting that bothers me, it's that once you get into it, you have a tendency to stop playing to the mechanics of the scenario. As you can see, almost everyone is over here. Apparently, I mean, it looks like everyone's over here. But you have a tendency to stop playing to the mechanics of the scenario and start playing just to defeat your opposition. And that, I mean, if that's the stated goal going in, okay, I can live with it, but I think both are possible. I think it's certainly possible to run a six-man group in any scenario, play to defeat the enemy, but also play to the mechanics of the scenario. Now, we did manage a score there, but as you saw, some of our guys got caught up in the explosion, and now we're kind of segmented. So now it's just going to be a kite fest here for a moment. We're just trying to put some space between us and the majority of the destruction force and stay alive until we can reconstitute. Now, someone's on the far side. As you can see, Dance of Swords did lock, and that is what I talked about earlier, and that this SC requires you to split your forces. You kind of have to do that. Somebody has to just sort of stand around and watch whichever flag, whoever team you're playing for. We kind of had these guys tied up, but then we let them slip in behind us and capture Death Charge. So that just continues to sort of illustrate the point I was making. I mean, it's fine that we're out here engaging the enemy, but we should also be playing to the mechanics. We should have, captured that point ourselves, because we have granted destruction an opportunity. They have an opportunity here, and it's one of the tactics that I would suggest that, if you're fighting on one side of the map or the other, so just to stick with this illustration, we're fighting on the destruction side of the map, and we're concentrating here, so that gives them an opportunity to slip someone around to the far side and capture both flags. And as you can see, that is exactly what they did. There's a little bit of a nuance here, I suppose, as I was talking about at High Pass Cemetery, and that you have to watch for your opportunity to take advantage of what your opponents are doing and seize that opportunity to grab some points. And that's exactly what the Forces of Destruction did here. Alright, so I am now going to go and capture the flag. And if anyone, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not faulting anyone here. I am just stating my belief in context of my underlying point that the goal of playing in any SC is to win that SC. So the fight can wait. Yeah, the fight can wait until I capture the flag. And at least we have one side. And now we can continue our engagement of the opposing forces here. But once again, we're gonna, make the same mistake. Destruction's gonna run right in behind us and stop us from bringing forth Khaine's wrath and garnering some more points. And they were able to do that because, again, we're not playing to the mechanics of Khaine's Embrace. We're playing to fight the enemy. Okay, enough about that, I suppose. Let's move on to another point. Now note the victory totals here at the moment. We have 102, Destruction has 90. So what I'm going to do here is shave about 5 minutes off this particular SC. And the points in the 5 minutes that I shaved off, they haven't really changed that much. We did manage another score during that time, so we now have 207. Destruction has 108. But in other scenarios, you can win the whole thing in less than 5 minutes because of the mechanics. Here, it's a little bit harder. Now I've shaved off another 5 minutes, and we're up to 376 to 178. So they still haven't changed by that much. This again is going to go all the way down to the wire. So the last 30 seconds of fighting here, watch the order point total. There, we just gained 50 points. In a few seconds, that's going to happen again. Nobody's locking any points down in this time. But watch the order point total. There it goes again. That was like 55 points. And now with 10 seconds left, all we have to do is get one kill to wrap it up. We're not going to be able to do that, but it doesn't matter. I mean, we're going to win this scenario. But I did want to illustrate that as time, in Khaine's Embrace, as time begins to wind down, the mechanics start these point jumps. So if you're ahead at that moment, then you're going to win. Even if you only had 10 points and there's a minute left, a 10-point advantage, you're going to win. All right, so final points. Capture the flags if you can. If you're ahead on points, then just run up, keep your enemy tied up on one side or the other. And you can, if you want, fight to run out the clock. You're probably going to be in this scenario for the duration anyway, the full 15 minutes, so that by design sort of forces a little PvE on you. It's kind of axiomatic. Well, that brings us to the end of episode 10. As always, I do appreciate you looking in. I hope you enjoyed it and found something worthwhile. Next time up, we'll play a little chess in Talabek Dam. But until then, take care, everyone, and we will see you next time.
Hello. Welcome, gentle Sir Knight. Welcome to the Castle Anthrax.
The Castle Anthrax?
Yes. It's not a very good name, is it?